Have you ever felt someone come into your life with so much intensity, so much charm, only to vanish when you start feeling it too? Have you ever wondered why he acts interested, sends signals, makes promises, and then suddenly disappears, leaving you questioning everything about yourself? That feeling, that sting of confusion, it's sharp, it's heavy, and yet it's more common than you realize. And today, you're about to discover the inside answer most people will never tell you. By the time this video ends, you'll not only understand why this happens, but you'll also gain the clarity and confidence to never let it shake your self-worth again. It's natural to question yourself when someone disappears. You replay conversations, analyze messages, overthink every smile, every pause, every word. You wonder if it was something you said, something you did, or maybe something you didn't do. Human psychology is wired this way. Our brains crave connection, crave explanation, crave control. And when someone suddenly retreats without warning, it triggers that ancient part of our mind that fears abandonment, that fears being invisible, that fears being not enough. That fear can make you feel small, like there's something wrong with you. But here's the truth you need to hear. This has nothing to do with your value, nothing at all. The reason this hurts so deeply is because you allowed yourself to feel, and that is beautiful. You allowed yourself to hope, to imagine, to believe that this person could be a part of your life. That willingness to feel, to open up, is your strength, not your weakness. And yet, when someone disappears, it feels like a betrayal of that courage. But what if I told you that his disappearing act is not a reflection of you at all? What if the reason he comes and goes is far deeper, far more revealing about him than it ever will be about you? Most people jump to blame themselves. Maybe I wasn't enough. Maybe I pushed too hard. Maybe I didn't do the right thing. But self-blame is a trap. It's a trap that keeps you stuck, that makes you chase shadows, that drains your energy and steals your confidence. The reality is, when someone acts interested and then disappears, it is rarely about your worth. It is about their fear of intimacy, their fear of commitment, their fear of being seen in their raw, imperfect, vulnerable state. Human psychology teaches us that when a person is not ready to handle closeness, their instinct is often to pull back, to retreat, to vanish. And this retreat is a reflection of their limitations, not yours. It's also important to understand how the mind reacts to unpredictability. When someone is inconsistent, our brains cling to hope. This is called intermittent reinforcement in psychology, and it's a powerful force. When he reaches out after disappearing, your brain rewards the attention, your heart lights up, and your emotions get tangled in a cycle of highs and lows. That's why it feels like addiction. The emotional pull of someone who comes and goes is intoxicating. But here's where the power lies. Understanding the cycle gives you the ability to break it. Knowledge gives clarity. Awareness gives freedom. By staying with this video until the end, you'll uncover the hidden dynamics that make him act interested and then disappear. You'll learn the psychological triggers that make you crave his attention and how to reclaim your power. You'll discover why letting go of someone who isn't fully present is not a loss. It's a liberation. And most importantly, you'll walk away feeling stronger, wiser, and more in control of your emotions than ever before. Because here's the reality. The pain of being ignored or ghosted is temporary, but the lessons it teaches can last a lifetime. Every time someone disappears, it's a lesson in self-respect, a lesson in boundaries, a lesson in knowing your worth. When you begin to see it this way, when you begin to view these experiences through the lens of growth rather than rejection, something shifts. The sting fades, the confusion lifts, and you start to understand that the universe has a way of nudging you away from what isn't meant for you so that something better can step in. Right now, you might feel frustrated, you might feel hurt. You might even feel like love is impossible, like connection is too complicated, like people can't be trusted. And that's okay. It's normal to feel that way. But what separates those who stay stuck from those who move forward is perspective. The choice to view these experiences as lessons rather than failures. The choice to see that someone disappearing does not diminish your light, your charm, or your value. Every person who leaves makes room for someone who will stay. Every vanishing act creates space for clarity, for self-discovery, for real love that doesn't fade. So if you've ever asked yourself, why does he act interested then disappear? You're not alone. And the answer is not something superficial like timing or luck. The answer is buried in human psychology, in emotional fear, in unspoken insecurities. And in the next sections of this video, you'll learn exactly what drives this behavior, how to recognize it, and how to respond in a way that protects your heart, strengthens your confidence, and empowers you to attract someone who is truly present. Stay with this video because by the end, you won't just have the answers, you'll have the clarity to stop chasing what isn't meant for you, the wisdom to trust your instincts, and the motivation to step into a space where love, respect, and consistency are the standards, not the exception. The moments after he disappears are the hardest. You find yourself replaying every conversation, analyzing every message, every emoji, every pause. Your mind becomes a battlefield of what ifs and why me. You start questioning your own value, thinking maybe you were too eager, too available, too much, or not enough. And yet, this reaction is not a flaw. It's a natural response to emotional unpredictability. Human brains are wired to seek patterns, to search for answers, to try to restore control when chaos hits our hearts. That feeling of confusion, the heavy mix of hope and hurt, is proof that your heart is alive, that you care, that you are capable of deep connection. It's important to recognize that these emotions are not weaknesses. Feeling abandoned, neglected, or ignored is simply a response to a sudden gap between expectation and reality. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort that arises when what you hope for conflicts with what actually happens. And that discomfort triggers your deepest insecurities, especially in matters of love and trust. It's a universal struggle. Millions of people experience the same thing, yet few understand the underlying dynamics. Knowing why this happens can turn confusion into clarity, frustration into insight, and hurt into empowerment. When someone acts interested and then retreats, it creates a powerful emotional pull. This inconsistency triggers a longing in your mind that feels almost magnetic. Your brain is wired to reward attention, even if it's inconsistent, because humans are hardwired for connection. The unpredictability stimulates your emotional system, producing bursts of excitement, hope, and anticipation each time he reappears. But at the same time, it creates stress and anxiety because your mind is desperately trying to make sense of behavior that doesn't match words. This tug of war between hope and disappointment can leave anyone drained and questioning themselves, but understanding this mechanism can free you from its grip. It's normal to blame yourself in these situations, to think that maybe you missed something or that your actions somehow drove him away. But self-blame is a trap built on misunderstanding human behavior. The truth is, when someone vanishes, it rarely has to do with you. It has to do with their internal struggles, the fears they carry, the insecurities they hide, and the inability to sit with vulnerability. Emotional readiness varies from person to person. Some people are not prepared to engage fully, not because they don't care, but because they fear what real closeness will demand of them. This fear often leads to retreat, silence, or sudden disappearance. Understanding this can shift your perspective in profound ways. When you realize that his actions are a reflection of his limitations and not a measure of your value, a weight lifts from your heart. You begin to see that his inconsistency says more about his journey than yours. It is not rejection. It is a mirror showing his discomfort with honesty, intimacy, and commitment. Recognizing this truth allows you to stop questioning yourself endlessly and start focusing on your own emotional well-being. It also helps to understand how attachment patterns affect these situations. Some people have anxious tendencies, craving closeness but fearing loss, while others have avoidant tendencies, desiring freedom and struggling with emotional availability. When these tendencies collide, the result is a push and pull dynamic that can feel like emotional whiplash. Understanding these patterns doesn't excuse poor behavior, but it explains why someone might seem deeply interested one day and disappear the next. Awareness of these dynamics allows you to step back, detach, and protect your heart without shutting down your capacity to love. The emotional roller coaster of waiting, hoping, and wondering can make you feel powerless. Yet, this is also an opportunity for growth. Each time you feel that pull, you have a choice to cling to uncertainty or to reclaim your power. Every moment of frustration can become a lesson in self-respect. Every pang of longing can become a reminder of your boundaries. Every unanswered message can become proof that your energy is valuable and deserves reciprocity. By embracing this mindset, the pain transforms into motivation, guiding you to prioritize yourself and the people who are consistent, present, and worthy of your trust. It is also essential to confront the fear that arises in these situations. Fear of being alone, fear of missing out, fear of not finding love. It can be overwhelming. But fear is a signal, not a verdict. It signals that you care deeply and that your heart is capable of feeling. It does not mean you are flawed. It does not mean you are unlovable. In fact, acknowledging your fear and allowing it to coexist with your self-respect is a powerful step toward emotional freedom. The more you recognize your worth and value your feelings, the less control the unpredictable behavior of others will have over your happiness. The weight of unreciprocated attention can feel unbearable, yet it is in these moments that true resilience is built. Resilience is not about avoiding pain. It is about navigating it with awareness and courage. Every time someone disappears, it is an invitation to strengthen your emotional muscles, to understand your needs, and to learn what kind of love is worthy of your presence. The most powerful people are those who recognize that temporary pain is a small price for long-term clarity and fulfillment. Your heart is not a puzzle to be solved by someone else. It is a compass that points to where love is genuine and consistent. When you stop chasing fleeting attention and start listening to your own instincts, you begin to create a life where emotional stability is not a privilege, but a standard. You learn to recognize when someone is genuinely aligned with your values and when they are simply passing through. And this shift in awareness is transformative. It turns confusion into certainty, longing into patience, and hurt into motivation to invest in connections that truly nurture your soul. The truth behind why he acts interested and then disappears is often hidden beneath layers of fear and insecurity. Most people never see it because it doesn't show up in texts, calls, or even conversations. It exists in the deeper part of his mind, where vulnerability meets self-doubt. Many men, even those who genuinely feel attraction, struggle to handle emotional intimacy. They may desire connection. Yet the moment the possibility of real closeness arrives, a part of them recoils. This pullback is not about rejection of you. It is a defense mechanism designed to protect themselves from feeling exposed, judged, or unprepared. Understanding this is essential because it reveals that his inconsistency is rooted in fear, not in lack of care. Psychology tells us that the human brain is wired to avoid discomfort. Emotional closeness, especially in romantic settings, triggers a mix of excitement and anxiety. For someone unprepared for this intensity, the anxiety can overpower the excitement. It becomes easier to withdraw than to confront feelings, to vanish than to stay vulnerable. This is why someone can seem genuinely interested one day, shower attention, and then retreat abruptly. Their actions are dictated less by their desires and more by their capacity to handle their own emotions. The deeper their fear, the more unpredictable their behavior becomes. Many people confuse this retreat with manipulation or indifference, but the reality is far subtler. It's not about playing games. It's about an internal struggle. When someone disappears after showing interest, it often reflects their inability to integrate emotions, desires, and responsibilities simultaneously. Their mind creates a kind of self-protection bubble, a retreat into comfort zones where feelings are manageable and consequences are avoidable. Recognizing this truth can be liberating. It allows you to stop personalizing behavior that is entirely about their emotional limits. Another layer of this behavior comes from unresolved past experiences. Many people carry emotional wounds from previous relationships, fear of betrayal, abandonment, or rejection. These past scars can make consistent connection feel dangerous. Even if they genuinely like someone, their subconscious mind triggers avoidance whenever closeness threatens to stir old pain. This explains why a man may act intensely interested at first, then suddenly disappear. His actions are not a reflection of your value, they are echoes of past insecurities playing out in the present. The concept of emotional availability is key to understanding this pattern. Some people are naturally avoidant. They enjoy intimacy only in controlled doses, maintaining distance when things start feeling too real. Others are anxious, seeking closeness, but fearing loss, which can create a chaotic push-pull dynamic. When an avoidant person feels pressure from someone emotionally attuned, their instinct is to pull away, to disappear, to regain a sense of safety. This is not personal. It is a survival instinct wired deep within them. When you understand this, you can approach these situations without absorbing the emotional turbulence as a judgment of your worth. It's also important to consider the role of self-awareness. Many men who act interested and then vanish lack insight into their own emotions. They may not fully recognize their patterns, their fears, or the impact of their actions on others. Their intentions might be genuine, yet without self-awareness, consistent behavior becomes impossible. They might want closeness, yet panic when vulnerability surfaces. They might crave connection, yet sabotage it unintentionally. Understanding that this is a reflection of their emotional immaturity, not a statement about your desirability, can shift your perspective from frustration to clarity. The psychological mechanism at play is further amplified by avoidance coping strategies. When faced with emotional stress, some people instinctively retreat rather than confront discomfort. Ghosting, disappearing, or pulling back are ways of regulating internal anxiety. It might seem irrational or hurtful from the outside, but internally, it serves a protective function. The discomfort of facing vulnerability is avoided by creating distance. This is why sudden withdrawal often follows intense engagement. It is not rejection, but a temporary escape from internal chaos. For those experiencing this, the lesson is profound. When you begin to understand that his behavior is a reflection of his emotional capacity and not your worth, you gain freedom. Freedom from overanalyzing, freedom from self-blame, and freedom to make decisions based on clarity rather than hope. Your energy becomes your own, and the temptation to chase inconsistent attention diminishes. The more you comprehend these psychological dynamics, the less power his absence has over your emotions, and the more you reclaim your own sense of peace. The deeper insight here is that emotional inconsistency is a sign, not a sentence. It signals that someone is not ready to meet you at the level of authenticity and commitment you deserve. It is a form of truth-telling through behavior. Once you perceive it this way, each disappearance transforms from a personal slight into a clear message. This connection is limited by their capacity, not by your worth. Seeing it from this perspective shifts the narrative from pain to understanding, from confusion to empowerment. Ultimately, understanding the psychology behind his actions allows you to detach with dignity. You no longer feel compelled to fill the gaps he leaves or fix what isn't yours to fix. You realize that consistency, presence, and emotional availability are not luxuries. They are essential foundations of any meaningful relationship. This knowledge is a powerful motivator, reminding you that your time, energy, and heart are precious. You deserve someone whose actions match their words, someone whose presence is steady, not intermittent, someone capable of holding space for you fully, without disappearing when connection grows real. Beneath the surface of every sudden disappearance lies a truth that is rarely spoken: fear. Fear of being known fully, fear of showing weakness, fear of being vulnerable. When someone retreats after showing interest, it is often not about you, it is about the part of them that is unprepared to face intimacy honestly. True connection requires courage, a willingness to expose imperfections, and the acceptance that emotions can be messy. Many people, despite genuine attraction, are not ready to take that step. They are caught between desire and avoidance, wanting closeness yet fearing the responsibilities it brings. This fear manifests in ways that can feel confusing or even cruel. One moment, attention is abundant, words are warm, messages are frequent. The next, silence stretches endlessly. This inconsistency is not a reflection of your value, it is a reflection of their inner struggle. Human psychology explains that emotional avoidance is a coping mechanism. When the intensity of connection grows beyond what they feel capable of handling, the natural response is retreat. It is not a conscious choice to hurt. It is a subconscious strategy to protect themselves from discomfort. Understanding this helps shift the perspective from self-blame to clarity. Behind every disappearing act, there is often a battle between desire and insecurity. Many people genuinely want intimacy, but their self-doubt creates invisible walls. They worry they are not good enough, that they will fail, or that they will be rejected once their flaws are exposed. The mind magnifies every small risk, convincing them that withdrawal is safer than engagement. This explains why someone can act deeply interested yet vanish when things start to feel serious. The moment closeness approaches, fear activates a protective instinct that overrides desire. Recognizing this pattern is crucial because it reveals that the inconsistency is about their limitations, not your worth. Another hidden truth is that many people operate with unhealed emotional wounds. Past betrayals, childhood experiences, or previous heartbreaks create layers of caution. Even when they are drawn to someone, those old scars can make closeness feel dangerous. Emotional safety becomes a priority, sometimes at the expense of the relationship they desire. This is why their presence feels hot and cold. Their actions are dictated by a combination of longing and apprehension, desire, and fear. Understanding this allows you to detach emotionally without resentment. You begin to see that their disappearance is a product of their own journey, not a measure of your value. It's important to note that not every person who disappears is malicious or manipulative. Many act out of confusion, immaturity, or inability to process complex feelings. Emotional availability is a skill, not a guarantee. Some people are capable of deep connection from the start, while others require time to understand and integrate their emotions. When someone retreats, it signals that their current capacity does not align with the level of connection you seek. This realization can be empowering because it allows you to stop chasing what isn't meant to fit into your life. Fear often disguises itself as disinterest. When someone withdraws, it can feel like rejection. But in reality, it is fear speaking through behavior. The mind prefers avoidance over vulnerability because it promises safety, even if that safety comes at the cost of meaningful connection. This is why logic often fails in these situations. Your heart wants closeness, but their fear overrides reason. Accepting this truth reduces the emotional burden you carry. You are no longer left questioning your worth because you understand that their retreat is about limitations within themselves, not a deficiency in you. This inner truth has a profound effect on how you view relationships. When you recognize that fear drives inconsistency, you stop internalizing behaviors that were never about you. You begin to see patterns clearly, who is capable of steady presence and who is not. You realize that emotional unpredictability is not a reflection of your desirability, it is a reflection of the other person's readiness. Awareness like this cultivates resilience. It allows you to protect your heart, prioritize your well-being, and invest in relationships that are genuine and reciprocated. Another aspect to consider is how some people mistake excitement for commitment. The thrill of attraction can be intoxicating, but it does not always equate to readiness. Some enjoy the chase, the attention, and the emotional highs, yet they are not prepared to handle the responsibility of consistency. When feelings intensify, fear intervenes, leading to disappearance. This behavior is not about you failing. It is about them avoiding discomfort they cannot manage. Recognizing this prevents you from blaming yourself and opens the door to healthier emotional boundaries. Every instance of disappearing behavior is a lesson in understanding human psychology and your own emotional needs. It teaches you that love is not just about attraction, it is about alignment. Consistency, emotional availability, and mutual respect are the true markers of a relationship worth investing in. When someone cannot provide these, it is not a reflection of your value. It is a reflection of their own limitations. Accepting this truth shifts the narrative from hurt to empowerment, from confusion to clarity. Ultimately, understanding the inner fears that drive disappearance equips you with insight. You begin to see that their inconsistency is not a judgment of your worth. You start recognizing that temporary withdrawal is a message, not a verdict. It is a signal that emotional capacity is mismatched, and that you are deserving of someone whose presence is unwavering, whose commitment is steady, and whose love does not retreat in fear. This awareness strengthens your confidence, frees your energy, and guides you to relationships that are grounded in authenticity, respect, and emotional security. One of the hardest things to overcome after someone disappears is the urge to blame yourself. It's easy to replay every interaction and convince yourself that you did something wrong. Maybe you think you were too eager, too available, or even not enough. These thoughts can spiral, convincing you that your worth is dependent on someone else's presence. But self-blame is a trap, a mental loop designed to keep you small and uncertain. Your value is not determined by someone else's inconsistency. Understanding this is the first step toward reclaiming control over your emotions and your life. When someone acts interested and then vanishes, the instinctive reaction is to internalize their behavior. It feels personal because emotions are deeply involved. But the truth is that their actions reflect their own fears, priorities, and limitations, not your shortcomings. Self-blame only strengthens the cycle of dependency, where your happiness becomes linked to their attention. Breaking free from this pattern requires a conscious decision to place your self-worth back where it belongs, inside yourself. You are not responsible for filling gaps in someone else's emotional capacity. Reclaiming your power starts with acknowledging your feelings without judgment. It is normal to feel hurt, disappointed, or confused when someone disappears. These emotions are signals, not verdicts. Allowing yourself to feel fully without spiraling into guilt is a vital step in emotional independence. When you honor your emotions, you honor yourself. You recognize that your capacity to feel deeply is a strength, not a liability. This mindset shifts your perspective from self-doubt to self-respect. Another crucial aspect of reclaiming your emotional power is setting boundaries. When someone repeatedly disappears or behaves inconsistently, it is not a reflection of your worth, but a signal that they are not aligned with the level of connection you deserve. Setting boundaries is an act of self-love. It communicates clearly to yourself and to others that your time, energy, and emotional well-being are valuable. Boundaries are not about punishment, they are about protection. They ensure that your heart is invested in relationships that are healthy, reciprocal, and grounded in consistency. Self-blame often stems from the illusion of control. You might feel that if you act differently, respond differently, or say the right things, you can make someone stay. This is a misconception. No amount of effort can change someone's internal readiness or fear. Accepting this truth is liberating. It allows you to stop chasing approval, stop overanalyzing messages, and stop turning their behavior into a reflection of your value. Your energy becomes yours again, and that is incredibly empowering. It is also important to cultivate self-compassion during these moments. When someone vanishes, your mind may criticize itself harshly. I should have known better. I should have done this differently. But self-compassion is the antidote to this cycle. Treat yourself with the same care you would offer a friend in the same situation. Recognize that your effort, your vulnerability, and your willingness to invest emotionally are proof of your courage. Compassion toward yourself strengthens your resilience and makes you less dependent on external validation. Reclaiming power also involves shifting focus from the other person to your own growth. Each time someone disappears, you are presented with a choice to dwell on disappointment or to invest in yourself. Growth happens when you prioritize your mental and emotional well-being. Engaging in activities that nurture your mind, body, and soul reinforces your sense of self-worth. Pursuing your goals, passions, and relationships that honor your energy creates a foundation that no inconsistent behavior can shake. Understanding the psychology behind his behavior further strengthens your control. Inconsistency is not a reflection of your worth, it is a reflection of their emotional capacity. Internalizing this knowledge transforms hurt into insight. It allows you to view their actions objectively rather than personally. This objectivity is empowering because it frees you from the emotional chaos caused by unpredictability. You begin to make decisions from clarity, not from fear, hope, or longing. Reclaiming your emotional power also involves trusting your intuition. Your instincts are a compass, guiding you toward people who are capable of showing up consistently and away from those who are not. When someone disappears repeatedly, your intuition is signaling that their presence is not reliable. Honoring this signal is not rejection, it is self-preservation. By trusting yourself, you reinforce confidence, strengthen boundaries, and protect your heart from unnecessary turmoil. Finally, the process of stopping self-blame and reclaiming power transforms your relationship with yourself. You move from seeking validation externally to recognizing it internally. You begin to understand that love, respect, and attention are not privileges to be earned through effort or sacrifice. They are reflections of alignment, consistency, and emotional availability. When you reclaim your power, you no longer feel dependent on someone else's presence for your happiness. You are complete, whole, and capable of attracting people who match your energy, value your time, and honor your heart. Patterns rarely lie. When someone repeatedly acts interested and then disappears, it is rarely a coincidence. Humans are creatures of habit, and behavior often reveals more than words ever can. Recognizing these patterns is one of the most powerful tools you have to protect your heart. It allows you to step back, see reality clearly, and stop falling into the same cycles that leave you frustrated, hurt, and doubting yourself. Once you start noticing the signs, you begin to regain control over your emotional landscape. Emotional roller coasters are exhausting because they create a constant cycle of hope and disappointment. One moment, you feel seen, valued, and wanted. The next, you are left questioning everything and wondering if you imagined it all. This unpredictability triggers stress, anxiety, and even self-doubt. The mind craves stability, but inconsistency keeps it in a state of alert, scanning for cues, analyzing every interaction, and trying to predict the next disappearance. Recognizing the pattern breaks this cycle, because once you see it clearly, you are no longer reacting blindly. You are responding with awareness and intention. Patterns often reveal the truth faster than words. Someone who disappears after moments of intense attention is signaling emotional limits. They may genuinely enjoy connection, but the moment feelings deepen, they retreat. By observing these tendencies, you learn to differentiate between genuine interest and temporary engagement. This awareness is empowering because it allows you to act based on reality rather than hope or fear. You start noticing red flags before becoming deeply invested, saving yourself unnecessary pain. It is also important to recognize patterns in your own responses. Emotional investment can be uneven when one person is inconsistent. You may find yourself chasing, overthinking, or trying to fill the gaps they leave behind. Understanding your own tendencies helps you break this cycle. When you observe how you react to unpredictability, you can make conscious choices instead of acting from impulse. You gain the ability to protect your energy, maintain your self-respect, and engage in relationships that are balanced and reciprocal. The psychology behind repeated disappearing acts shows that avoidance is often unconscious. Some people are not malicious. They simply cannot handle vulnerability consistently. When you recognize this, patterns become signals rather than punishments. Every time someone disappears, you see it as information, not a reflection of your value. You start responding with clarity and self-awareness, rather than chasing after someone who cannot meet you fully. Patterns, once understood, shift from frustration to guidance. Another critical insight is that patterns reveal priorities. Consistency is a mirror of someone's capacity for commitment and emotional responsibility. If someone repeatedly retreats, it shows that their priorities are not aligned with building a stable connection. Recognizing this does not mean giving up on love. It means choosing to invest in people who demonstrate reliability and care. Patterns guide you toward relationships that are sustainable and fulfilling, and away from those that keep your heart in constant turmoil. Breaking emotional roller coasters also requires detachment. Detachment does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop allowing someone else's inconsistency to dictate your emotional state. When you recognize patterns, you can step back and observe behavior objectively. You no longer feel compelled to fill gaps with hope or excuses. Instead, you respond with boundaries and self-respect. Detachment empowers you to maintain peace of mind and prevents emotional exhaustion caused by chasing attention that is fleeting. Patterns also teach you patience and discernment. You begin to notice who is capable of sustained presence and who is only able to engage intermittently. This awareness sharpens your judgment, strengthens your boundaries, and protects your energy. You learn that love is not a gamble. It is a choice informed by observation, clarity, and alignment. Understanding the rhythm of someone's behavior allows you to step out of reactive cycles and step into intentional decision-making. Self-awareness grows when patterns are recognized. You start to see that the pain caused by inconsistency is not a punishment, but a lesson. Every emotional roller coaster becomes a guide, teaching you how to prioritize your own needs, respect your boundaries, and identify relationships that truly serve you. Awareness shifts your energy from anxiety and doubt to confidence and clarity. The more you notice the recurring behaviors, the more empowered you become to make choices that protect your heart and honor your worth. Ultimately, recognizing patterns allows you to reclaim your life from uncertainty. You begin to respond from strength, not desperation. You stop overanalyzing actions and start seeing the truth in behavior. You understand that emotional consistency is not negotiable. It is a reflection of someone's readiness to engage genuinely. When you internalize this truth, the emotional roller coaster loses its power, and you gain the freedom to invest in connections that are healthy, reliable, and aligned with your value. Patterns are not just about identifying what someone else is doing, they are also a mirror of your growth. Every time you notice a recurring behavior, you have the chance to practice self-respect, strengthen your boundaries, and refine your instincts. Recognizing these cycles is an act of wisdom. It allows you to choose clarity over confusion, consistency over chaos, and love that honors your worth over attention that leaves you uncertain. This awareness transforms emotional turbulence into a roadmap for healthier, more fulfilling relationships. Taking back control starts with understanding that your emotional state does not have to depend on someone else. When a person disappears, it is easy to feel powerless, as though your heart is being tossed by forces beyond your control. But the truth is that power is always within you. Your feelings, your responses, and your choices belong to you alone. No one else can dictate your peace unless you allow it. Recognizing this fundamental truth is the first step toward reclaiming your strength and restoring balance in your life. Control begins with presence of mind. When faced with inconsistency, the natural instinct is to panic, overthink, or chase after attention. But the mind is most powerful when calm and aware. Pausing before reacting allows you to assess the situation with clarity rather than emotion. You gain the ability to respond intentionally rather than react impulsively. This is crucial because consistency and self-respect cannot coexist with emotional impulsivity. By choosing awareness over reaction, you reclaim the steering wheel of your heart and mind. Another key element of regaining control is refusing to chase what is not meant for you. The temptation to pursue someone who disappears is strong because it triggers the brain's reward system. Every sign of interest creates a small dopamine surge, reinforcing the hope that things will change. Recognizing this neurological response helps you separate desire from wisdom. You can acknowledge the attraction without surrendering your boundaries. You can honor your feelings while refusing to let uncertainty dominate your life. This balance between awareness and desire is the cornerstone of emotional power. Setting clear personal boundaries is also essential. Boundaries act as a declaration of self-respect. They define what is acceptable and what is not, creating a framework in which your emotional energy is protected. When someone repeatedly disappears, boundaries allow you to step back without guilt or confusion. They give you the freedom to prioritize your needs, invest your attention wisely, and avoid the stress of chasing someone who is inconsistent. Boundaries are not about punishment. They are about preserving your emotional well-being. Taking back control also involves choosing how you interpret their actions. When someone disappears, it is tempting to assign negative meaning or blame yourself, but every disappearance is a reflection of their limitations, not your value. By reframing their behavior as a reflection of their readiness rather than your shortcomings, you shift power back into your hands. You stop carrying unnecessary emotional weight and begin to act from a place of strength, clarity, and dignity. Emotional control also grows through self-investment. The more you nurture yourself, your interests, and your personal goals, the less external behavior dictates your mood. Engaging in activities that bring fulfillment creates a sense of completeness independent of another person's attention. This independence is powerful because it reduces susceptibility to manipulation, emotional highs and lows, and the insecurity that inconsistency often creates. When you invest in yourself, you are no longer a passenger in your emotions, you are the pilot. Another critical aspect of reclaiming control is learning to respond, not react. Reactions are often automatic, driven by emotion, while responses are conscious, deliberate, and guided by understanding. When someone disappears, resisting the urge to chase or overanalyze creates space for thoughtful action. You may choose to wait, communicate your feelings clearly, or disengage entirely if their behavior is harmful to your emotional health. Responding with intention, rather than emotion, reinforces your autonomy and protects your energy. Trusting yourself is also part of taking control. Your instincts are finely tuned to detect patterns and behaviors that may be harmful. When someone repeatedly retreats, your intuition is signaling a mismatch between your expectations and their capacity. Trusting this inner guidance helps you make choices that align with your values and preserve your dignity. The more you honor your instincts, the stronger your emotional foundation becomes. You no longer depend on external validation for confidence or clarity. Reclaiming control includes the ability to release attachment to outcomes. It is natural to want certainty, to hope for consistent attention, and to desire resolution. But holding tightly to someone who is inconsistent only prolongs frustration and emotional strain. By accepting that you cannot control their readiness or willingness to engage, You shift your energy to what you can influence: your mindset, your boundaries, and your growth. This shift from attachment to empowerment creates freedom and inner peace. Finally, taking back control transforms the way you experience relationships. You stop being reactive to someone else's inconsistency and start attracting people who match your emotional rhythm. You no longer settle for temporary attention or emotional uncertainty. Instead, you cultivate connections that are aligned with your standards, values, and energy. Reclaiming control is not about forcing someone to stay. It is about mastering your own heart, protecting your peace, and creating the life and relationships you deserve. Embracing self-love is one of the most powerful steps you can take after experiencing someone's disappearance. Self-love is not about arrogance or selfishness. It is about recognizing your inherent value and refusing to settle for less than you deserve. When you truly love yourself, the inconsistencies of others no longer shake your foundation. You stop seeking validation from someone who cannot provide it and start finding strength within. Every act of self-respect, every choice to honor your feelings reinforces the belief that you are worthy of consistent, genuine love. Strengthening emotional boundaries is an essential part of self-love. Boundaries are not walls meant to keep people out. They are gates designed to protect your energy. When someone repeatedly retreats, boundaries allow you to maintain your dignity and peace. They clarify what behavior is acceptable and what is not, without creating guilt or resentment. By defining your limits, you communicate to yourself and others that your emotional well-being is a priority. Strong boundaries reduce the impact of inconsistency and prevent the emotional exhaustion that comes from chasing someone who cannot meet you fully. Self-love also means refusing to tolerate behavior that diminishes your confidence or undermines your sense of worth. It requires honesty about what you will and will not accept. When someone disappears after showing interest, it is easy to excuse their behavior, hoping it will change. But every time you excuse inconsistency, you give away a piece of your power. Self-love empowers you to demand the respect you deserve without fear, guilt, or compromise. It allows you to walk away gracefully from situations that no longer serve you and to invest in relationships where attention, effort, and care are mutual. Understanding your own worth also helps you navigate the emotional turbulence caused by others' actions. When you know that your value is not determined by someone's presence, disappearance, or attention, you regain clarity. Self-love teaches you that emotional stability starts within. You do not need someone else to validate your significance because you recognize it yourself. This inner recognition is transformative. It allows you to interact with others from a place of confidence rather than neediness, from a position of strength rather than fear. Part of embracing self-love is learning to forgive yourself for moments of vulnerability. When someone disappears, it is natural to feel hurt, confused, or even angry. It is also normal to have wished things could be different or to have hoped for consistency. Self-love is about acknowledging your feelings without self-judgment. It is about accepting that you did your best and that vulnerability is a sign of courage, not weakness. Forgiving yourself allows you to release emotional weight and prevents old wounds from controlling your future decisions. Self-love and emotional boundaries are closely intertwined. When you honor yourself, you create a framework where your energy is protected. Boundaries prevent you from over-investing in someone whose behavior is unreliable. They give you permission to prioritize your needs and to reserve your heart for relationships that are reciprocal. By strengthening these boundaries, you reinforce the message that your time, attention, and emotional energy are valuable and that you will not settle for less than you deserve. Another powerful aspect of self-love is the ability to detach from outcomes. It is natural to hope that someone will change, return, or behave consistently. But attachment to these hopes often leads to frustration, disappointment, and unnecessary suffering. Self-love allows you to accept reality without trying to force it to fit your expectations. You recognize that their behavior is not a reflection of your worth, and you release the need to control outcomes. This detachment creates emotional freedom and allows you to focus on the people and experiences that truly align with your values. Self-love also strengthens resilience. When someone disappears, the emotional impact can feel heavy, especially if it has happened before. Loving yourself equips you with the inner strength to process these experiences without letting them define your emotional state. Each act of self-care, each choice to honor your boundaries, and each moment spent valuing yourself builds resilience. Over time, this resilience allows you to face disappointment, uncertainty, or inconsistency with calm, confidence, and clarity. Valuing yourself also influences the type of relationships you attract. When you project self-respect, confidence, and emotional stability, you naturally draw people who are capable of reciprocating these qualities. Your energy becomes a filter, attracting those who can engage consistently, respect your boundaries, and match your emotional rhythm. Embracing self-love ensures that your relationships are rooted in mutual care and reliability, rather than unpredictability or fleeting attention. Ultimately, self-love is the foundation for every decision, boundary, and relationship you cultivate. It transforms how you perceive yourself and others. It shifts the focus from external validation to internal confidence. When you prioritize self-love, the inconsistencies of others no longer dictate your happiness or self-worth. You become the guardian of your heart, the architect of your emotional well-being, and the creator of the life and relationships you deserve. Self-love is not just a feeling, it is an active practice, a daily commitment, and the most powerful way to reclaim your peace, your confidence, and your power. Real love begins with clarity about what you deserve. After experiencing someone who disappears, it's easy to doubt your ability to find stability, consistency, and respect. Yet the truth is that genuine love is not a gamble. It is a reflection of alignment between two people. Preparing for real love means understanding your own needs, defining your standards, and refusing to settle for anything less. It is a process of creating space for someone whose presence is consistent, whose attention is reliable, and whose intentions are genuine. Attracting the right people starts with inner alignment. When you cultivate emotional stability, self-love, and self-respect, you radiate confidence that draws those capable of meeting you fully. Human psychology shows that we naturally attract energy similar to our own. If your foundation is strong, your heart is whole, and your boundaries are clear, you signal to the world that you will not tolerate inconsistency or disrespect. This magnetic energy filters out people who are emotionally unavailable, leaving room for those who are capable of sustaining meaningful connection. Preparing for healthy love also requires patience. True connection is rarely instant. It grows gradually through mutual effort, communication, and shared understanding. When someone has a history of disappearing or inconsistent behavior, the urge to rush or force attachment is strong. Yet patience allows you to observe behavior over time, to distinguish between genuine interest and temporary engagement. It ensures that your heart is invested in someone who is capable of sustaining love, rather than someone whose attention is fleeting. Understanding emotional compatibility is another key step. Real love thrives when two people can meet each other's needs consistently. This means recognizing your own patterns, desires, and emotional rhythms, and observing whether potential partners align with them. Someone whose presence is steady, whose communication matches their words, and whose behavior reflects integrity is more likely to build a relationship that lasts. Learning to identify these qualities helps you avoid investing in people who cannot offer the consistency and reliability that your heart deserves. Self-awareness also plays a critical role in attracting the right people. The more you understand your own emotional triggers, your boundaries, and your values, the more selective and intentional your choices become. Emotional clarity allows you to recognize red flags early, preventing unnecessary pain. It also strengthens your ability to engage authentically, without compromising your standards or overextending your energy. Awareness ensures that the relationships you form are grounded in respect, honesty, and mutual care. Another vital component is the ability to release past disappointments. When someone disappears, it is natural to carry lingering pain or mistrust into new connections. Yet holding on to past experiences can cloud judgment and create unnecessary fear. Preparing for real love means letting go of what no longer serves you, forgiving yourself for past missteps, and opening your heart with discernment. Emotional release clears space for connections that are healthy, consistent, and capable of honoring your worth. Commitment readiness is also a factor in attracting the right people. Healthy relationships require both partners to be emotionally available and willing to engage fully. By prioritizing your own growth, stability, and self-respect, you naturally attract individuals who are ready to match your level of commitment. Those who are inconsistent or emotionally unavailable will no longer hold sway over your heart. Instead, your energy draws people who are prepared to invest with integrity, care, and mutual understanding. Building a supportive inner circle further strengthens your readiness for genuine love. Surrounding yourself with people who value you, respect your boundaries, and encourage your growth reinforces your self-worth. This support system becomes a mirror of the love you deserve, reminding you that consistency, care, and respect are not optional, they are essential. It also provides perspective, helping you navigate encounters with inconsistent people without internalizing their behavior as a reflection of your value. Another key principle is maintaining high standards without fear of being alone. Many people compromise on quality out of fear of loneliness, settling for attention that is temporary or unreliable. True love requires courage, the courage to wait for someone whose actions match their words, whose presence is steady, and whose intentions align with your values. Choosing quality over convenience is a declaration of self-respect. It ensures that your heart is invested in relationships that nurture, support, and elevate you, rather than drain or confuse you. Ultimately, preparing for real love is about creating an environment where connection can thrive. It is about clarity, patience, self-awareness, and resilience. It is about valuing yourself enough to attract people who are capable of reciprocating the attention, care, and respect you naturally give. When you enter relationships with this mindset, love becomes a source of growth, joy, and security, rather than a cycle of uncertainty and heartbreak. By aligning your inner world with your desires, you open the door to relationships that honor your worth and sustain your heart over time. By now, it is clear that your worth is not measured by someone else's attention, presence, or disappearance. True value comes from within, from how you treat yourself, how you honor your feelings, and how you protect your heart. When someone acts interested and then vanishes, it is not a reflection of who you are. It is a reflection of their own fears, limitations, and emotional capacity. Understanding this truth changes everything. It frees you from unnecessary guilt, confusion, and self-doubt. It allows you to reclaim your life, your energy, and your confidence. Clarity is one of the most powerful tools in this journey. When you see behavior for what it truly is, patterns of inconsistency, fear, or avoidance, you stop personalizing it. You no longer assume that someone's withdrawal means you are lacking. Instead, you recognize the reality of their limitations, and you allow yourself to step back with dignity. Clarity is liberating because it transforms emotional chaos into understanding, uncertainty into insight, and frustration into empowerment. Self-worth and clarity together form the foundation for attracting the love you deserve. People who are capable of sustaining attention, respecting boundaries, and being emotionally available are drawn to those who hold themselves with respect and awareness. When you know your value and refuse to settle for less, your energy signals that inconsistency is unacceptable. You begin to naturally attract individuals who are ready to meet you fully, with honesty, commitment, and integrity. Your heart is no longer at the mercy of temporary attention. It is aligned with people who honor your worth. Every time someone disappears, it is an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more self-aware. The pain you feel is not wasted, it is a teacher. It shows you what you will no longer tolerate, what boundaries you need, and what standards are non-negotiable. Each experience becomes a lesson in resilience, self-respect, and emotional intelligence. Over time, these lessons refine your instincts, making it easier to recognize genuine interest from temporary attention. You become adept at protecting your heart without closing it off from love. Remember that love should feel safe, consistent, and reciprocal. It should not create confusion, anxiety, or constant questioning. When someone disappears repeatedly, it is a clear signal that their emotional capacity does not match your expectations or needs. You do not need to chase, fix, or overanalyze. Your focus should be on aligning with people whose actions reflect reliability, honesty, and care. This alignment is not about perfection. It is about integrity, presence, and mutual respect. Choosing alignment over inconsistency is the ultimate act of self-love. Your journey toward healthy love begins with yourself. Investing in self-awareness, emotional boundaries, and self-care strengthens your foundation.